Last time, venturing into the depths of the Gran Marquee at Ulan's Gate, we left our party crammed into a narrow corridor, forcing their way into a swollen, aging door at the hallway's termination. Between now and then, I've cleaned up my map a little bit, and I've realized we've forgotten a couple key elements of our characters. First, I did not select an alignment. And secondly, of equal importance, my magic users did not select their spells. So, in a quick moment of bookkeeping, let's get that under wraps. Perhaps the easier thing to do is select spells for our magic users. As first level magic users, they're entitled to one first level spell, and the player's reference of Ode to 74 does not appear to specify, but I seem to recall they should have access to a first level book comprised of several options: detect magic, hold portal, read magic, read languages, protection from evil, light, charm person, and sleep. Up until this point, I had been randomizing most of what our characters are doing, but it dawns on me that in the absence of a pre-planned dungeon, in that we're generating this on the fly, I may not need to do that. I am as much a player as I am the referee in this case. So instead of rolling, there being 8 spells, it's pretty easy to randomize. Instead, I'm going to just go ahead and pick. First, for Sahane, we will give her the ever-popular Sleep, capable of putting one or more creatures into an deep but natural slumber. But for Azora, she will memorize one of the most terrible and powerful spells available to her, pulled directly from the pages of the early Vance Chronicle Sais, conjuring both an adversarial but unrelentingly affectionate bond. Charm person. Next, we come to the rolling of alignment. Now, this is typically up to the choice of the player, but I figure we've randomized a lot of other stuff. We might as well randomize this. The first character I rolled was Ulvamor, the Consumptive, and I figure we might as well start with him. Clerics above a certain level cannot proceed unless they are aligned. They can be neutral to a point, but it only goes so far. So, I, being a favor of the lawful alignment, chaos being prone to biting itself, in a sense, will give Ulvamor a 1 in 6 chance of being chaotic, a 2 in 6 chance of being neutral or unaligned, and a 3 in 6 chance of being lawful. Lawful. Further, Agram the White Hand, cleric, it is unlikely he's going to be something different than the other cleric, presuming they're working together. I will give him a 1 in 6 chance for being neutral. No. Agram is a cleric of law. Now, to speak to our magic users. In last episode, I mentioned that magic users naturally seem more chaos-oriented than law, but Harkening back to the referenced Vance story, Sayus, Itar is a magic user who is, without question, at a minimum neutral. And, spoiler, judged righteous, or at least in the right, by the forgotten sunken god. So, knowing that we have a lawful cleric leading the party, I had made the default assumption that my first character was in the lead. I didn't randomize that or anything, but I didn't formalize that or anything. But let's give Azura we will give her a 1 in 6 chance to be chaotic in secret, a 3 in 6 chance to be unaligned, and then a 2 in 6 chance to follow in the path of law. Law. The Cerulean Spire, it would appear, is an organization devoted to order and enlightenment. And what of Sahane, the sister in the sorceress arts? The clerics we have were somewhat related, but I have established very little of a relationship between the two magic users, so I will give her the same odds as her sister in art. Oh, chaos. Perhaps this is why Sahane did not bear membership to a school or master from the onset. Finally, we have our fighting types. First, consider Prax. We do have the trade tongue of pirates, but we share that with our lawful magic user. So, I'm not sure what to make of his alignment. I would be tempted to give him an even chance, 1 in 6 law, or 1 in 6 chaos, apologies, 3 in 6 neutral, and 2 in 6 law. Further, we have Udrawin the Middling, the dwarf, and while in modern fantasy dwarves have become associated with law and with rigid structure and order, in the original Appendix N, they were middlemen, they were Switzerland, in a sense. Consider the Broken Sword. The dwarves of the Broken Sword sell arms and armor to the elves of Alfheim for gold, under threat of hostage, but for gold nonetheless, staying apart from the violence that ensues in the war with the trolls. Further, consider 3 Hearts and 3 Lions. Hugi, the dwarf, does guide Holger to his eventual destination and fight with him along the way in a quest that's obviously in the service of the law. However, I get the impression he would have been just as happy to stay in his forest and bother no one. With that in mind, both of these characters I'm going to give a 1 in 6 chance of serving chaos, a 3 in 6 chance of serving no one, and a 2 in 6 chance of serving law. Our dwarf must be in league with our sorceress. Now, alignments determined, each of the characters is entitled to speak the language of their alignment. They cannot understand the language of the competing alignment, however they recognize when it is spoken. The chaotics are outnumbered in this group. What are they doing here? Do the lawfuls know that chaos is among their midst? Do the chaotics recognize one another? Do they dare speak, lest they betray their alignment? Time will tell. But for now, bookkeeping accomplished. we can get back to the delve. Parallel passage, or 10 by 10 room if door is straight ahead. So the door did appear to be straight ahead. So what we see here is a 10 by 10 room. We go to table 5. We know the shape, it's 10 by 10, but let's check for exits. 10 by 10 is less than 600, so a 5, 0. Though a secret door may exist and a search may be made if desired. For every 10 feet of wall space checked, roll a d12. A 1 indicates that the door has been found, and a 12 indicates a monster has come in. We are coming up on the obligatory rest period, so we'll go ahead and search this space. It would not be a good thing to get caught in here if the wandering monster were to come through a secret door we hadn't heard about. We'll have essentially 2 turns worth of time, but Udrowin and Ulvamore will search. You know what? Let's take our time. Udrowin, Ulvamore, and Prax will search the south left wall. Nothing. Then Agram, Sahane, and Azura will search the northeast wall. A secret door is located. From here, 3 of our party members will continue searching the last wall for a further secret door. None. And the other 3 will listen to the door to see if they can hear anything on the other side. Let's pick up some high-vis dice. Initially, nothing, but the searching will take a full turn, and to this point I'd been adjudicating. This was a point that was made in observation. Why did I mark half a turn for listening at the door? The book indicates that some actions will take a fraction of the turn, such as ESP taking a quarter turn. However, I find that half turns are much easier in terms of timekeeping. That is, if I have a turn crossed off on graph paper, it's much easier for me to do / then X than it is for me to try to do some tally format. So, in my personal game, an action will either take a half or a whole of the turn. And I think that lines up with the movement rates as well, which are at the half in likeness of chainmail. So we'll do because we have that second set of time, we can take a second listen. We hear something if something is there to be heard. So, depending on what's on the other side, I may be glad to have taken it. It dawns on me, I forgot to check the contents of this 10 by 10 room. Empty, fortunately, but I really need to get better about following procedure. I may take the tables and, cut them out and lay them in a more readable format for my early morning brain. But let's see, what is on the other side of the door? Well, do I hear anything? The other side will be a chamber, and I'm not going to worry too much about the shape just yet because I haven't opened it, but I'm going to need to identify. I know I have a second d20 in here somewhere. I'm going to need to identify whether or not a monster is in the room. 19. No monster, but a trick or a trap. Once I get in, of course. From here, I will attempt to force the door. Our two magic users and Ulvamore will do so. The door is forced, and mark 2 turns off on our tablet. One for searching, and a second for searching and listening. And then, let's see what's in this chamber. How large is our chamber? Square, 20 by 20. Exits. 20 by 20 is under 600 square feet, and a natural one tells me there is one exit to this room, presumably apart from the one we came in on. And it will be on the opposite wall, straight ahead from where I entered. We've already determined the contents is trick or trap. So let's jump over to the trick and trap table and see what we have. While we're at it, I'm going to have to figure out a way to kind of randomize where doors appear. Sticking them in the dead center every time just seems... On to the trick or trap. 4. Secret door, unless unlocated. Non-elf 1 and 6, elf 2 and 6, magical device 5 and 6. Unloaded secret, unlocated secret doors go to 6 and 7. So I do have a located secret door, and I just walked through it, so that seems a little... But let's roll for the party. If we'll pretend that we're locating or unlocating, and we have 6 members. I located it, and we're going to go with, it says unlocated secret door, go to die 6 or 7, which is a pit 10 feet deep, which is 3 and 6 will fall in. But because I located it, we're going to say there's a pit trap in this space with spikes at the bottom, and it's a good thing that we saw it before we stepped in. Now we will listen at the far door and see if we have anything on the far side. I will hear it if something is there. Marking half a turn, and then we'll check and see if there's anything to hear. There will be nothing to hear on the far side of the door. Hearing nothing, we are approaching the 6th turn, so we will need to rest. Mark that down. We will spend our... I messed that up. I think... oh no, I didn't. We will spend a full turn in rest. Our torch is coming low, so we will have our magic user light a second. We'll mark where that will run dry on our turn tracker, and then we will force this door. But not before pounding a spike into the secret door, preventing it from closing and assuring our ability to escape, as if we run into a wandering monster, they are unlikely to pursue us through a secret door. There will be a 2 in 6 chance that it closes anyway, but we will deal with that when we return. Alright, I will hear something if something is there to be heard, but as I recall, I rolled for content and it was empty, so in retrospect, I should probably just call this roll the force the door roll. There were 3 thingies, and as usual, we'll have our consumptive and our 2 magic users try to force the door. They succeed, and let's see what's on the other side. Beyond the door is a passage 45 degrees ahead or behind. We'll go ahead. I wonder what that actually means, ahead or behind, but we will go with a 50-50 shot as to whether that goes north or whether that goes east. North. We have a hallway, and we will make a check north. Chamber. That's convenient at the end of this hallway as a chamber, because I realized after opening the door just now that I actually made a quick error in judgment. The difference between a chamber and a room on these tables is that egresses from and to chambers are open, much like a foyer opening into a hallway. By the contrast, rooms have proper doors that need to be opened and closed. So, doing it right this second time around. And now to proceed to the chambers and rooms table. I'll move my dice tray here. Finally, we've got a big result. Rectangular, 40 by 60 feet. I will give that odds evens to see if the 40 feet is due north or east-west. It is east-west. We'll check for contents. Empty. Now, keep in mind the empty results on these doesn't necessarily, from the perspective of the game, reference a totally blank space. There's easily falderal detritus. Because we're in a marquee or a theater type setting, I expect that there may be curtains along the wall, dusty props lying about on the floor, some fixtures that were once sets in strewn about and disarray, with various pieces broken and sideways, confusing and non-Euclidean in their imitation once from the perspective of the audience and not from the perspective of the stagehand. But I don't have tables for that, and I'm still learning these tables, so we may get a little bit more theatric, so to speak, as we move forward. Next, let's check for exits. We'll use my white die for this one. 5. There are several exits, and 40 by 60 should be above 1,600 square feet, and with a 5 there is 1 exit. That's interesting. Yeah, if I had rolled a 3, that would have had the most exits. Where is it in the wall? 9. It is on the right wall. Direction if a door used table 2 instead. That's curious. The exit will be on the right wall, and the direction is straight ahead 20 feet wide. If a door used table 2 instead. So what does that mean? I guess I'm supposed to... I'm probably supposed to roll a second time on the same table. Straight ahead. So I guess that just means it will continue
30 feet in that direction into the night. Let's see. We'll use my trusty die 6 as well to determine how far into the room the door is. It's 60 feet, seems easy. It is right at the end. Right at the end of our torchlight. Moving up the hall and into the room, we'll eat our first half of movement, and we will move 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 will take us to the end of the new hall. Our first torch burns out, but fortunately we've got that other one going, so we are not left in the dark. And let's see what's at the end of this hall. Chamber. And what does our chamber look like? We have a rectangular chamber, 30 by 50 feet. I'll give it even odds as to whether the 50 is... actually I'm going to go 50 is north-south because I am right on the edge of my graph paper and I'm jonesing for some not having a second map. That would be funny. This strategic review messing me over like this again after I went and put on a new piece of paper. So we're going to go north-south. Inside is a trick or a trap. And I said we had 30 by 50. That's 1,500 square feet. A possibility for a secret room. So, but first we will figure out this trick or trap. Pit, 10 feet deep with spikes. We have a 3 in 6 chance to fall in, so we'll roll that for our vanguard. The rules explicitly state that a pit has a 2 in 6 chance to open. I'm going to have to cross-check that. Let's see, and we will roll. I did say I was going to do 3 in 6. The 3 in 6 came from the previous entry, pit 10 feet deep, 3 in 6. So we're going to go with what we see in the thing. Now this is where my marching order comes into play. Now I did not specify the marching order, but I do have the index cards laid out on my desk in a specific order. In front, Udroin, the middling, and Prax are flanking Uldamar, the consumptive. Sahane and Azura are in the middle, and Agrum is taking up rear guard, just in case. So, that meaning that our first 3 in the first rank are possibly going to fall into this pit. I will color code these with red will be Ulvamor, green will be Prax, and white will be Udroin. That is a shame. While our cleric has avoided the sliding into the trap, our 2 fighting types have fallen in. Now, this will be a good time to generate the damage threshold for each of these characters. As a cleric, Ulvamor is eligible for 1 die. At level 1, he has 1 die for the accumulation of damage. Prax and Udroin, on the other hand, as fighting types, have 1 die plus 1. So, keeping the colors the same, we will see how many, or we will see what the damage threshold for each character is. Truly, that is unfortunate. Ulvamor, plate will keep him going, that's okay. Prax is looking pretty good, as I would have expected him to, but Udroin, that's underwhelming. He was Mr. Average at character generation, but that too isn't going to do him any good. But back to the matter at hand. There are two hazards that we're dealing with at the moment. First, we have our fall, and second, we have the spikes. As far as I'm concerned, falling onto the spikes should probably be automatic damage. We'll assign it 1 die 6. However, the rules for falling are given as 1 6-sided die of damage for every inch fallen. In the dungeon, that inch is translated to 10 feet. However, falling characters only have a chance to take that damage in 6 based on the inches. So, there is a 5 in 6 chance for Udruin and Ulvamore independently to avoid damage from the fall. Both of them are safe from falling. They land gracefully. So we will take away one of those two possible dice of damage. Oh, the suspense is building. The white die and the green die. Let's see if the spikes inflict our first casualty. But first, maybe we should roll some hit points for the other three characters. It probably doesn't help. All three are eligible for 1 die 6. Rolling said dice in no particular order, we get 4, 5, and 5. A hearty party indeed. Maybe we should have rethought who was going to be taking point. But now, the moment of truth. Will our fighting types survive the spikes at the bottom of the fall? Barely. Prax can thank his monstrous constitution for rescuing him from the impaling spikes. Udruin, on the other hand, not so fortunate. Goodbye, Udruin. We'll mark half a turn to retrieve Prax out from the bottom of that spiked pit, but 1 man down, 1 man injured, and nothing to show for it in the darks of the Gran Marquee. What will the party do from here? Stay tuned next episode of the Gran Marquee at Ulan's Gate.